What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Jada here, back with another video, and today we're going to be diving right back into 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 days. We have now been introduced to all the couples, finally. It took a good minute. I don't know why they wait so long into the season to introduce like all the couples, but anyways, we're going to be getting to the new one probably closer to the end. So our first couple, Tiger Lily and Adnan. So Tiger Lily finally lands in Turkey. They meet up at the hotel. He had a driver to come pick her up from the airport. Everything seems to be nice, but he's still in an interesting mood because she had found that photo of him shirtless and his chest was out. She told him to delete it, and he's just like, no, I'm a man, you know, like my chest could be out. But at the same time, she was like, listen, if you're gonna have these rules for me, like I'm gonna need to have some rules for you outside of whatever is okay in your religion. Like, these are my rules is pretty much how that's going down. So they meet up at the hotel and they hug, but you could tell that things are a little tense. But Adnan, I guess he doesn't really pick up on it until she starts talking, and she brings up why she is, like, you know, feeling a ways. So she pretty much just brings up everything that I already said, and Adnan, he just seems so over it. He kind of leaves and then comes back. I guess he needed to cool down. Then he comes back and he's just like, okay, if this is what you want, you know, I'll wear a shirt and do all this other stuff. But in the back of his mind, he's just like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna do that. I'm still gonna do what I want, but I'm just gonna say to her for now that I'm gonna follow her rules, and I'm just gonna get some pum pum tonight. Like, that's pretty much all I want. So I'm gonna tell her what she wants to hear so that I can get it. That's pretty much what happened. So yeah, they end up starting on their baby making journey, I guess is what they call it. They decided to go to the market the next day, and I don't know why Tiger Lily decided to wear these like 6-inch stiletto heels, and then she also had a fur coat on. I saw that Adnan also had a coat on, so I don't know if it was just cold at that time of year in Turkey or what, but either way, he wouldn't let her take the coat off even though she was like sweating and super hot and just burning up under this coat. He's just like, no, there's a bunch of men around. You can't take your coat off. You can't, no, like, you're not doing that. She's just like, but I'm like about to pass out. And he's just like, no, you're not gonna do that. They get on this boat. They eventually get into this conversation that gets a little heated about the whole coat situation, like taking off the coat. And he starts saying things like, you know, I know more than you and you don't know anything. Like, it just was like, wait, what? Tiger Lily just was like, okay, I'm just gonna be quiet at this point because this conversation is not going in any direction that's productive. So we're just gonna move on to Renee and Chitty. So we kind of left off with Renee. She's in the hotel room making these little weird videos of her in her what she calls lingerie, but it really just looked like pajamas with pieces of lace on it, let's be real. But either way, she's making these videos, and it was very irritating because it was like, he clearly said many times that he wanted to be celibate, but you keep pushing it. Anyways, after all of the heated situation with his sister and whatnot, he decides to meet up with Renee at the beach, and they try to talk through their issues, but Renee would not let this man get any word in. He's just like, listen, this is why I kind of want to leave this whole relationship, period, because you just don't know when to be quiet and just let me talk. He did a good job of, I think, explaining himself and staying calm, which is, I think, his deep down, his personality, really just calm. But Renee, in my opinion, is the type of person that would just keep pushing, just say anything and everything to get a reaction. But then when you get a little bit of a reaction, you want to tell them to shut up. That's her. So they pretty much just end up breaking up, and Renee is left sort of brokenhearted at the beach, I guess. They meet again, and this time at Renee's hotel. So Chitty actually ends up bringing his sister along with him, but she stays outside. She stays behind while he goes inside. He meets up with Renee. He gives her some gifts, which was so strange because I was like, why are we giving gifts to an ex-girlfriend that we just broke up with? You know, like, it was just really weird. So he gives her the gifts, and she just immediately jumps into like, what are we doing? Why are we here? Like, why are you giving me gifts? It escalates from there, and I guess they break up again. She hops on that next flight out of there, and she goes back to, is it New Mexico? Yeah, New Mexico. That was pretty much it, it seems. I don't think they actually got invited to the tell-all that's supposed to happen at the end, because Renee, I think after seeing what a lot of people were saying about her and her behavior in these episodes, I think that's when she decided to jump on her social media and start talking. Like, she had a lot to say, but we're probably going to talk about that in another video. So Loren and Faith, after their plane ride to where Faith's family lives, she finally introduces Loren to her family. We find out that one of Faith's siblings actually is also trans, so they kind of share that bond together. They tried to bring gifts. They walk inside the house and they start eating, and then Loren's just like, you know, the food is a little bland. I was expecting it to be a little bit more Filipino-y. I was like, Loren, in the very first couple of episodes, we saw footage of you eating boiled shrimp in your bathroom. I don't know if you should be saying anything about how people cook. I don't think you should be talking about flavor or anything. Like, just be quiet. Eat your food, okay? And they were also kind of grossed out by how he ate his food, which definitely looked kind of crazy. But after this family meetup, Faith goes and hangs with her two sisters. And they talk about why she introduced Loren as her friend rather than her boyfriend, because they knew her to be rather excited about this whole relationship. So why all of a sudden are you calling him your friend? She tells them about the whole gonorrhea thing. And what's interesting is that the younger sister, I think she was the younger one, but she was like, yeah, I'd probably have to think about it in terms of moving forward with him because I'm not too sure. I don't like how that sounds. But then the trans sister is just like, well, you know how difficult it is for men to take us seriously as trans women, so I really think you should just, you know, stick it through, stick it out. And it's just like, I don't know about that. I think you still deserve respect. And that's what Faith said. You know, she's like, I understand that, you know, that sucks for us, but at the same time, it's just like, I think I deserve someone who respects me and doesn't do stuff like what Loren does. That's pretty much where we leave off. So next we have Brian and Ingrid. After that very awkward interaction with Ingrid's mom, they eventually end up going over to the other city that he wanted to finish off his trip at. And they were having their little mini vacation, drinking coconuts and, you know, having a good time, it seems. They eventually end up talking about moving forward in their relationship and, you know, marriage and whatnot, and her coming to the States. And Brian is just like, yeah, you know, I want someone now that I'm getting older to like take care of me. And Ingrid's just like, hold up now, hold up. Like, I want to, of course, help you with some things, but I don't want to be your caretaker 24/7. I don't want to be your mom. Brian's just like, ooh, I don't know if she's ready for this then, if she's not going to be able to do that 24/7. And I'm just like, yeah, probably not, Brian. I think you should probably end this here, to be honest. But that's pretty much where we leave off with them. Now we're going to move on to Via and Sunny. After that whole blow up between the two of them, when Sunny found out that she had actually brought over her ex-boyfriend Rory to South Africa, Sunny had basically decided to leave her in the hotel room alone and go home. He eventually decided to meet up with her and hear her out, and she explains to him that her and Rory have a deeper connection because they had lost a child together. Obviously that's a very sad time, but the thing is, even though he's understanding of that, it becomes a question of, am I going to be enough for you in terms of, am I going to now be that person for you that you see in Rory? Like, am I going to now be that person you come to when you're, you know, feeling down or, you know, need support? Sunny had introduced her to some of his friends. They were playing cricket. And then at the end, one of his friends kind of stepped up and was like, hey, you know, you're probably going to have to eventually convert to Islam if you guys want to be together. It was just like, okay, well, who are you, buddy? Like, are you Sunny? Which is really odd. Like, I understand where the friend was coming from, but at the same time, it was just like, I don't think that was necessary for him to say. But either way, it is something that they do need to talk about, because if that is something that Sunny wants her to do, I don't know if Via is gonna be on board. So that's a serious conversation that they're probably gonna need to have. Later on after that, they do end up sleeping together. Sunny enjoyed himself, smiling from ear to ear, talking about breaking the bed and all. And right after that, I honestly feel like Via kind of used that as a means to manipulate him, because she was like, yeah, I think this is the perfect time since you're in a good mood to go see Rory. And I was just like, wait, what? And even Sunny's just like, do you think this is a good time? Like, I don't know if I want to do that right now. You could see that he's really nervous and is trying to figure out, how do I even view you in this situation? It becomes a matter of, at least for Sunny, like, he should be supported in that moment, and he eventually finds out that he isn't. because they meet up and everything's going okay-ish in terms of conversation. But then it gets a little heated because Sunny is talking to Rory and he's just like, do you think I like you being here? Rory kind of places everything on Via and is just like, listen, if she tells me that everything is good and she wants me to leave, then I'll hop on a plane and dip. But Sunny turns to Via and Via's just like, I don't want Rory to leave. You could see in that moment that Sunny is just like, I'm trying here. I really am. I wanted to see the good in this situation. Like, he wanted to have her have his back in that whole situation. And it didn't happen. He was looking for that support. And it didn't happen. So that was a very interesting interaction. Sunny ends up storming off. I'm curious to see where this is going to go because I don't think he's ever going to get what he's looking for when it comes to Via. I think she's always going to remain attached to Rory because she secretly deep down really loves him. But let's move on to Niles and Matilda. So now that Niles has gone through to Matilda about them postponing the wedding, now he has to go and basically speak to Matilda's family and tell them the same thing and hope that they're okay with it. So they go to Matilda's house and they meet up with her family. It's a very awkward exchange because number one, I think only a few of them speak English. So one of the brothers, I think, or uncles, I can't remember. One of them has to basically translate for everybody else. And they're sitting there. Niles is trying to speak to, you know, the translator brother or uncle. He's just like, I can't get married on this trip, but at the same time, I want to do the knocking ceremony before I leave. And the mom's just like, no, because it's only supposed to be a couple of weeks in between. I think it's one of the uncles that say, you know, okay, you have a deal. Do the knocking ceremony before you leave, but then you could come back and get married to Matilda. Shortly after that is when we start having issues with regards to Matilda trying to invite everybody and anybody to her knocking ceremony, which means even more money. And then Niles gets a little tour through Matilda's house. Let's just say he doesn't say nice things. He's just like, you know, this is not a place where humans should live. And it was like, oh wow. It's like in that moment you remember, oh yeah, he is autistic, but it's just kind of like, geez, like what if her mom did hear that? She might not be that understanding. But either way, I think now they're trying to get the support of the other elders in the community to have the knocking ceremony, but now it's seeming like they're getting a little bit of pushback about that. So I don't know. So next we have Vana and Bourjou. So I think we left off with Bourjou leaving Vana at her Airbnb. And she's just like, okay, well, I guess he's not really like there when it comes to our relationship. So I'll give him some space, right? She's understanding about it. But then the next day they meet up and he kind of comes clean and it's just like, yeah, I don't have those like lovey-dovey feelings for you just yet. You know, I'm hoping that while you're here, they could develop. But as of right now, I just don't have them for you. And it's just kind of like, this is making things even worse. Because not only are you referring to her as your friend to strangers, but you're also now saying that you don't have those feelings for her, like you don't feel like attracted to her in that way. It's beginning to feel like a wasted trip on Vanya's part. But regardless, she presses forward. She's also hoping that those feelings could develop on his end. Shortly after this is when Vanya talks to one of her cousins, I think, and she's reminding Vanya like, hey, this guy hasn't really been showing you much in terms of like actually being relationship material. On top of that, in the past, he's ghosted you. Why would you give him more chances? So it's something for Vanya to really think about. And then a little while after that conversation, she goes to meet up with Bourjou's friends. Let's just say the friends weren't really on his side. It was like, ooh, this is looking really rough for Bourjou right now. But he kind of put himself in that situation because he hadn't even said anything to his friends about this woman. They really didn't even know she existed until just a couple days before they met her. Then they start talking about his ex-girlfriend and how he actually wasn't even the one to break up with the girlfriend. The girlfriend broke up with him. That's worrisome because it's just like, well, what does that mean? Like, I'm the plan B? So it's definitely not coming across well. And then Vanya, she reveals that he hadn't even kissed her yet since she got off the plane. And it was just snowballing. Even one of the friends was like, I think you're wasting her time. Then after that, I can't remember exactly what he had said to really make her mad, but she got up and left. I'm I'm just like, yeah, Vanya, you might as well just leave the situation, because that's what this is, a situation. It's not a relationship, it's a situation. Find yourself out of it. That's all I'm gonna say. And our final couple is going to be Joe and Magda. So Joe is 34, he's from Florida, and Magda is 23, she's from Poland. And it's looking very interesting so far because Joe, it doesn't seem as though he's very much so serious about being in a serious relationship right now. I think he is very much so giving bachelor energy and he just wants to live it up to the fullest. I don't think he's trying to settle down, which is what Magda is trying to do. We also find out that I guess Magda, in her mind, they were in a relationship and Joe was actually sleeping still with other women. But I guess on Joe's end, he didn't realize that it was like clear that they were in a relationship. I don't know who to believe in that situation. You know, it's just kind of like a he said, she said. So I don't know when it was established for real, or if Joe is lying and he just cheated. I don't know. So it was weird. And now Magda, she needs to see his location, and his friends are also having issues with that. They're like, I don't know about that. I guess Joe had also explained to both his friends and family that Magda was very much so upfront about what she wants from the relationship. She wants marriage, she wants kids, she wants to move to the US. Obviously move to the US first and then marriage and kids. But she wants all these things. And Joe's just like, yeah, I don't know, because they'd only been together for a couple of months. They'd only even been talking for a couple of months. So it was just kind of like, I think that's just a little much for right now. So there's a lot riding on him going to Poland to visit her, to try to work some things out and figure out what dates they want to do things by, because she seems very much so headstrong about doing certain things at a certain time. So I don't know what her timeline is looking like right now. But both the friends and family, when it comes to Joe, are very concerned about that relationship. But he finds out the day before he's supposed to leave for Poland that she's not having sex with him until she gets over to the US. When the heck that would be, I don't know. But that definitely threw a wrench in Joe's plans, because you could see he's the type of guy that needs like the intimacy to figure things out, but at the same time, he might rely a little too heavily on it also. So I don't know. But he ends up oversleeping the next day and almost misses his flight, but he does catch it. Magda's mom is also very much so questioning the relationship as well, because she presented to her mom that they were in a relationship while he was out sleeping with other girls. So she sees it as him cheating on her. And it seems as though in the past with a previous boyfriend that she'd been cheated on as well. I just don't know how this is going to work out. Not only do you have the age gap situation, like literally 9 years. On top of that, you also have the distrust and the lingering thoughts. And then you also have the issue with kind of rushing things a little bit when it comes to Magda's end. That's going to be it for this one. I'm going to be diving into 90 Day Fiancé the other way and the finale, like the tell-all. I'm just gonna kind of squish everything into one video, so keep an eye out for that. But I'll be putting that out shortly. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.